Roll your shoulders back and down. That's it. Then lift your waist. When you're ready, close your eyes. Take a deep inhalation and lift your waist. Take another deep exhalation and relax around the nape of the neck. Then place your hands together in front of your heart. Use your thumbs to help you lift your waist, to help you lift your sternum. Soften your throat. Yogena jitasya padena vacham malam sharirasya cha vaijagena yopakrupam pravadam munina patanjalim pranjaliranatosmi abahu purushakaram Chandrachakra Siddharinam Sahasra Shirasam Shvetam Pranamami Patanjalim Harihi Om. Take a deep inhalation and lift your waist. Exhale to send your head down. Bring your hands to your thighs, then lift your waist, lift your face rather, and then open your eyes. And stretch your legs out in front of you. So we're going to be doing a recuperative practice today, and I'm going to ask you, when I do demonstrations, to come close and watch, because the setups are very particular, and I want to be quiet when you're in the poses rather than helping you with your props. So I'll do as much demonstration as I can to get you set up. And then when you're in the pose, I'm going to be quiet, which means you have to really pay attention, because I won't correct you even if it's incorrect when you're in the pose, because I want to be quiet so you can practice. The first pose is forward virasana. If you have two bolsters, use them. If you have only one, or you can create a stack of blankets, do that. I put a blanket underneath for cushioning. If you have limited blankets, you can not put one underneath you. You definitely want to have a blanket between your buttocks and your heels. And you definitely want to have something for the forehead. Let me show you a few things. You can go ahead and get your props set up, and then come on over and watch, because I want to show you a couple of things before you go into the pose. So if you have only one bolster, that's fine. Have a blanket folded for the buttocks and a blanket for the head. If you have additional blankets or pillows you can stack up, that's great. You can definitely use couch cushions. So get set up, and then you can come on over here and take a look. You'll need room to your left and to your right, by the way. Even the pups got to go to Yosemite. What fun. Okay, I'm just gonna wait till you're mostly ready. Okay, come and take a look. This part you've seen before, but there's a couple of nuances I want to show you. First of all, the knees are not too wide. They're not splayed open, and definitely the knees are hugging the first bolster. The second bolster, you have a couple of options. You can bring it absolutely into the abdomen, so the abdomen is up and over, but you can also take it just to the sternum, and that can feel really nice. The abdomen is soft. The arms come overhead and the forehead down. But that's not, this is just a preliminary shape I want to show you. So take a mental snapshot of that. When we come up, we're going to go to the side. So you'll pick up everything and take it over to the side. Now, I wish I had a camera up there so you could see down, but if you could, you would see that the bolster is touching my thigh and it's diagonal. My thigh is diagonal, and so the bolster is diagonal. Then I'm going to turn the waist and come over, and you can get rid of this blanket and come over and put your head on your arm. This arm is going to lift and turn. It has a magical effect on the hips and the low back. I really don't want to come out of this pose. It feels so good. But the buttocks have to be down, which is why I'm giving you 2 bolsters. Because if you had less height, the buttocks might be flying up. All right?
Are the bolsters on the outside of your thigh or the inside?
Absolutely to the out. If it was to the inside, you'd be able to see my thigh. It's absolutely to the outside of the thigh, touching the outer thigh. So I don't know if that's helpful to see it on that direction. It's not near the hip, it's halfway down the thigh, touching the thigh diagonal with the thigh. All right? But we're going to start here. I'm going to start with the support here, between the legs. All right? Now, if the knees bother, you can sit on a chair and go forward onto a couch or go forward onto a second chair. All right, I'll go ahead into the pose. You go ahead into the pose. Make sure that the buttocks are back and down. The abdomen is rounding towards the ceiling. Don't let the buttocks fly up. Have your knees apart enough that they're hugging a little bit the bolster. Alina, I think you need more, a little more height. Can you grab that chair cushion right next to you to your right? Yeah, that one. Can you just pull it over? Okay, good. Yeah, use that on the top. Yeah, yeah, and then you might still need the blanket for your face because the blanket for your face is okay. It's just nicer. You have more room to breathe. Yeah, better. Now the buttocks can go back and down. Okay, this is looking good. I'm going to be quiet for a few minutes, then I'll give you some instructions. So press down the tops of the feet, the big toes join. Let the hips roll back, and the abdomen may lift towards the ceiling. Keep the elbows extending forward so you get length in the sides of the waist. Move the sternum forward to match the length of the sides of the waist, and then the sternum can go forward even more, can feel like it's going forward even more than the sides of the waist. Having made those adjustments, then relax into the pose, feeling the spreading of the back body. So you're breathing, inhalating and exhalating, inhaling and exhaling through the rib cage in the back of the body. You feel perhaps the armpit region, the upper back, mid back. Feel the ribs, let them spread. Focus on the exhalation breath. You can even elongate it a little bit to help you settle down. And now prepare to come out. So bring your hands down onto the floor in front of your knees and use your arms to help lift yourself up. Pick up your stuff. That's the hard part. Pick it all up and bring it to the outside of the right thigh. You may want to put the blanket to the side and have the bolster be diagonal, just like your right thigh is. Press your left shin down, be heavy on your left buttock, lift your waist and turn to the right, and then bring your left arm alongside the bolster. You can put the left ear on the arm and use your right hand on the bolster to help you lift your waist and turn. Keep your left buttock back and down. So the left buttock going back away from the waist and down towards the left heel. Left shin heavy, left thigh moving back and down, and the abdomen turning from left to right. So the right hand is pretty active because it's helping to lift the right side of your waist up off of the bolster. But you can be heavy on the arm, close the eyes, and relax here. I hope that there's some freedom to the left side of your abdomen, the navel region. I hope that you feel some freedom there. In the left buttock, the left hip, the left low back as well. Having the left arm underneath you, you can roll the left shoulder down. Focus on extending the exhalation breath just a little bit. That'll help you move in to the movement of the pose. There's definitely a bit of a wave in this pose. On the inhalation, the right side of your waist lifting. On the exhalation, the left side of your waist rolling down, the left shoulder rolling down. And now prepare to come up, so you'll raise the right hand a little bit closer to the left arm, and then push yourself up. Be upright for a moment before you switch sides. Just take a moment to be upright because we're always in such a hurry. Moving on to the next project before we finish the last one. So just be upright for a moment. And then pick up your things and move them. Be upright again before you go to the left, just to slow down a moment. So once you get everything there, lift your chest, be upright, and then turn your abdomen from right to left. Now I'm moving away from the screen. I won't be able to see you, but I trust that you're moving your abdomen from right to left. And then put your right shoulder down, right arm out, and you can rest your ear on your arm, left hand down. The left arm stays active with the elbow bent, Turning the left side waist up, rolling the right shoulder down. Press the right buttock back, roll the right shoulder down, and then begin to observe the abdomen. Hopefully, the right side of the abdomen has some freedom. As you inhale, lift the left side of the waist. And as you exhale, roll the right shoulder down, roll the right side waist down. And then to come up, walk your left hand near your right hand. Push yourself up, be upright for a moment. And then stretch your legs out in front of you. Keep your stuff right where it is because we're going to use it in a moment. But first, take your legs out in front of you. Straighten your legs just to get the knees open. Press the back of the knee towards the floor just to get the back of the knee open. Knee joint moving towards the floor. Straighten the legs and extend the toes upwards. Spread your toes. Now sit back up on a blanket. We're going to cross the legs, the right leg in first, then the left leg. Now the bottom bolster goes in front of the shins, and the top bolster into the lap. If you are using blankets, I guess I would say put the blankets down on the bottom and the bolster on the top, but it doesn't really matter. Okay? And then have a blanket for the head. We're going to come forward similar to how we did a moment ago, but now the legs are crossed. What we're doing here is this sequence that's really good for menstruation. It's a basic sequence for menstruation, but I'm going to put in some inversions. Yeah, I hope that you already can feel that it's a really calming sequence. I mean, we've hardly done one pose yet, but already I hope you feel calm, that it helps you to settle down a little bit. So sitting up on the height gives you a little more space for your hips. Push the top bolster down and use your hand on your abdomen. Lift the abdominal viscera up and over. Then fingertips onto the elbow tips and forehead down. If possible, have a blanket or a pillow on top for your elbows. Really, it makes a big difference. Gives the armpits more open. Okay, if there's any questions, you can, of course, holler. The first bolster is in front of your shins, probably touching your shins, and the second bolster is in your lap. Like, you know how a child or an animal might crawl into your lap. There you go. And then don't have the blanket too close to you because you need room for your nose to breathe. Let yourself drape. The bolster blanket situation is quite cylindrical. So allow the sides of the armpit to drape towards the floor. Let the sides of the waist drape towards the floor. The hips are already placed towards the floor. Let them descend down. Make sure that the elbows are forward. Some of you have the elbows dipping towards the floor. Stretch your elbows forward so that you can get the armpits to drape. This is one of the most important places to breathe, is in that area where the bottom of the armpit is coming up towards the outer arm. Let that spread out to the side. Deepen. That's perhaps not the right word. Lengthen your exhalations, but make it natural. Let the exhalations seep. Let your exhalation drip. So slow it down. The abdomen, I hope, feels free and soft. If the bolster's in too close, you can always move it away so that you do feel some freedom in the abdomen. Let the exhalation drip out to the sides and down, meaning towards the outer armpit, sides of the waist. Let your exhalation be diffused out to the sides and down. Now slowly make your way up to sitting. This pose becomes a four-sided pose. Take your bolsters over to the right, as we did earlier. Turn your abdomen from left to right, but be upright before you come down. Be upright and turn from left to right. So the bolster is diagonal, touching the thigh, maybe towards the hip, and then you can come over. You can get rid of the blanket for the head because the arm is going to come over and rest. But if you need the blanket, use it. Have your right hand on the bolster. The left ear can be placed on the left arm. Drop the left hip, the left thigh. Let the abdomen turn from the left to right, but don't wrench it. Just see what movement wants to come. Use your right hand to keep the right side waist a bit lifted. And again, focus on the exhalation breath. You might feel the exhalation a little bit more in the shoulder blade region, in the left side rib region. Let it drip down, the exhalation breath towards the floor. And then walk your right hand towards your left arm and then come up. We could hold these poses for quite a while, but for some, it's an uncomfortable position. For some of you, it's just the best, most delicious position, but I know for others, it's not all that comfortable. You can always sit up higher. You can go back to the previous pose or sit on a chair. So those are 3 options if you need it. You can sit up higher, you can go back to forward virasana, or you can sit on a chair. Bring your setup to the other side. Lift your chest before you come down. You might feel, ooh, already some nice twisting has happened. You might feel that in your trunk. Then turn to the left and bring your right arm across. You can place your right arm for the ear. Use your left hand to help you lift your waist and turn. Let the abdomen turn from right to left. And let the right side waist drip down. Then slowly come up, walk your left hand to your right. Keep your setup right where it is. Stretch your legs out. Take a moment to extend the legs fully. It's important whenever you're doing knee bending poses to have a few moments with the legs straight. It'll give you some important space in the knees. Tighten those knees. Even if your heels lift up for a moment, that's fine. Tighten the knees to create space in the back of the knee. Okay, now bring your left leg in first, your right leg in, then take the bolster back in front of you. Have the blanket and go forward. We'll do a sequence like this at a time of menstruation, starting with the forward bends for a couple of reasons. One is that it releases low back pain and tension that's resulting from menstruation. Sometimes people who have back pain, forward bends bother them. But generally, if you have back pain due to menstruation, forward bends can be really helpful because it creates space in the low back. Space around the kidney band. Also, especially at the beginning of the menstrual cycle, having something pushing slightly into the front of the abdomen can be very nice. Depends on the person. If there's other conditions like fibroids present, it won't be so nice, but for most people, it feels very soothing. And for all people, being able to crawl into your yoga cave is really important. It releases tension in the brain on an emotional level. So when it comes to menstruation, it can be really helpful to start off with forward bends because they're quieting and calming. For general recuperative purposes, when we first need to relieve tension, doing some forward extensions can be incredibly helpful. So allow the exhalation to elongate here. Let it be a natural elongation. Perhaps at the end of the exhalation, you slow down the exhalation. Elongate the pause at the end of the exhalation. And then have a fresh inhalation. especially at the outer armpits. Let the outer armpits drip out to the sides and down, creating a kind of spaciousness in the back ribs, back armpit, for the breath to move. And then slowly make your way up to sitting. We're going to take the whole setup over to the right. Pick it up, make your stack a little more tidy. And then be upright for a moment. If your knees are bothering and you need the legs to be straight, it's better to sit on a chair and go forward onto a bed. Although some of you know what? That said, if you're going to do it with your legs straight, then you go for Upavishta Konasana. It's not legs sort of separated. It's big Upavishta Konasana, and then that would be fine. Lift your waist and turn. Everybody can go over to the right. And if you're doing Upavishta Konasana, you're turning, having the bolster on the thigh, shin, and then coming forward onto it. I'll show. Let me show. It can be two bolsters, one bolster, it can be a chair, but it's perpendicular to the shin if you're doing the straight leg version. All right? And that would be totally fine. But have the legs wide. Still focus on the exhalation breath, letting it be long, slow, smooth. Feel the opening of the left side of the abdomen. Feel that freedom there. And then come on up. Be upright for a moment. Just so that you can maintain a quiet place and not rush to the next thing. Then bring your support over to the other side so you can do the final cross-legged position or with straight legs. Turn your waist before you come down. Turn your waist, be heavy on your right hip, right leg, so that you can lengthen the right side of your ribs and then come over. Continue to press the legs down. Turning the abdomen, but especially turning the back body. Let the right side ribs go to the right, the back of the right armpit down, and then you can exhale into that space across the rib cage. And then slowly make your way up. And everybody, once you're up, take Upavishta Konasana. Like I am in. Have your support in front of you. Continue to sit up on height. It's up to you how much height. And if you're near a couch, you want to face your couch. That's fine. We're going to come forward. And one thing that is important is that it's not intense. I don't want you to be feeling like you have to push yourself to your support. So you can go forward onto a couch, or you can even go forward onto the wall, which I can show in a minute. But let me just finish this part. You can bring the bolster in close, have a blanket for the head, and extend forward. I want it to feel comfortable and accessible. Okay, so if it's a little more challenging, you want to go to the wall, sometimes that can be helpful, or go forward onto a chair. Okay, but this would be a wall variation. The legs should be straight. It's fine to round the back in this variation. Keep the knees tight, thighs long, heels down, toes up. If possible, if you're on the blankets or the bolster, you will have your fingertips on your elbow tips. Yeah, that's good. Yes, oh, that's an excellent choice. Okay, good. And oh, good. And there's animals helping to keep all the props secure. Extend the toes upwards. The middle of your heel, press it down. The outer heel rolls up. The inner heel rolls up, but the middle of the heel presses down. This helps to keep your leg even. If you feel it's uncomfortable, you can always push everything closer to you. Doesn't have to be far away. As you descend the outer hips down, breathe into the back body. And then come into an upright position. So I'm going to show you the next pose, which you will need to get your props and then come and watch. Have a chair. We're going to do just a little more forward extension. You've got all the props ready, but now I need to show you something, okay? So what you're going to do, you could do all the central forward bends this way, and it doesn't just have to be for a sequence like this. You could always practice the forward bends like this until the back opens, but especially at the time of menstruation, at a time where you just need some peace and quiet, this variation is really helpful. So come close to the camera and watch, because there's a couple of things you need to know. So we'll start by taking the right leg out to the side. I'm sitting up on height. You don't have to, but if you're stiffer in the hips and low back, you might want more height than I have. One bolster goes on the seat of the chair. The other bolster goes on the thigh, this thigh, okay? Then the blanket for the head. It's quite a few props, but watch, this is where the magic happens. So watch. Don't set yourself up yet, just watch me because there's a couple of points I want to make. So this bolster is on the thigh bone, pressing the thigh bone down, yeah? And with my free hand, I can turn the abdomen. What's great about this setup is I can literally hug, which is going to help me breathe into the back body. Really important at times like these when we have flu season, COVID, you need to be able to breathe fully in the back lungs. And it's very nourishing to be able to hug something. So you're hardly going forward, just a little bit, but you're able to breathe into the back body. Okay? So see what you might be able to set up. A regular chair is fine, and blankets, if you have only one bolster, put the blankets here and have the bolster be the one for the trunk. I'm going to spotlight Michelle so that I can come and watch. Have your right leg bent, your left leg straight, sit up on support. You can have the chair quite close. It's looking beautiful. Some of you are in, right knee bent, left leg straight. The left leg is under the chair if possible. The bolster is, there's one on the chair and one on your thigh bone. The bolster is on the thigh bone to help descend the thigh bone. It's not between the legs, it's on the thigh bone so that the thigh bone descends. Lift your waist and turn. Now, Thatcher, do you have more height? Can you sit up higher? Can you put more under your buttocks? That will help you tip and see what's possible. This is super excellent. I'm seeing very good use of props here. Keep your abdomen turning towards the straight leg. Of course, if you have a chair that doesn't allow for the leg underneath, then you keep the leg out to the side. Hug the chair, bring it in close enough that you can put your arms on top of the bolster or the blankets that are on the chair seat. And then because that way you stretch yourself forward. Your arms are around the bolster, not holding onto the chair as we might in other situations. We definitely hold onto the chair sometimes. But for this one, you're lifting up the bolster and over the bolster. Yeah. Don't turn your head. Have a blanket for the forehead so you don't have to turn the head. Keep the chin from jamming the chest. The chin should be forward. That's the purpose of having the blanket. Breathe into the back body, especially on the exhalation. And then on an inhalation, come up and straighten your leg. So if you practice to this class again, or you want to work with this sequence, you can use a timer. You can do this pose for a minute or 3, though with this particular setup, you might be happy in this pose for 5 minutes. A couple of things before you go to the other side. Some of you don't have a blanket for your head and you're missing out. Get a blanket for your head, get a pillow for your head. Get a little something so that, and also make sure that the chair is close enough that you have room to wrap your arms around the first bolster. Okay? So go ahead now and set yourself up. Now your left knee is bent and your right leg is straight. Move the skin on the right hamstring back to the buttock. Get that chair in close enough that the elbows are on top of the bolster that's on the chair seat. The only caveat to that would be if there are shoulder issues that make it too painful to lift your arms. But I will say this, sitting up higher will help a lot. So if there's any doubts, sit up higher and it will help. Make sure that your right thigh is rolling in. Don't keep pushing the chair away. The chair needs to be close enough that you can lift the front of your body up the bolster. Yeah, keep it close enough that you can lift up the bolster and lengthening the trunk. Right thigh rolling in. If your right leg is flaccid, it'll bother the back. The right leg has to be quite active. Roll the front of the right thigh in, roll the front of the right knee so that the inner right heel is heavy. You can hug your bolster, hug and love your props, and use your exhalation breath. Breathe into the back body, exhaling, spreading the back ribs, even the skin you may feel spreading, the back of the neck spreading out to the sides. And then slowly come up. Straighten both of your legs under the chair. So we're going to use the same setup, this time with both legs straight. Separate your feet. Now, if the chair doesn't allow, and you know Triangle Mukha Ekapada Paschimottanasana, you can do that. Otherwise, if you can get your legs under the chair, we're going to go for Paschimottanasana. So same setup with the two bolsters and the blanket for the head. Be up enough on your blanket under your buttock that it's fully under your buttock, but not under your thighs. Get that chair in close and activate the feet. Wonder Twin Powers. Activate the toes. Roll the small toe up towards the ceiling. Be heavy on the middle of the heel. And then come forward. Blanket for the head. How Michelle is showing on the screen if you're not sure. The feet are wide underneath the chair, which is about hips distance. You could absolutely do Upavishta Konasana in this manner. But since we already did Upavishta Konasana, I had suggested continuing with the four bends if there was a bar issue. Be heavy on your thighs. Get the knees down and the heels down. Activate the legs by stretching the small toe up and pressing the thighs towards the floor. Hopefully now, with the legs heavy, you can lift your trunk up and over. Doesn't have to go very far over, but it should definitely go up. And you can hug the bolster and start to exhale in the back rib region. This is our final forward extension. If you want to practice this sequence again, or you're watching the recording, you can pause here and do the rest of the forward extensions, the basic forward extensions, including Triangle Mukha Ekapada Paschimottanasana, Ardha Baddha Padma Paschimottanasana, Marichyasana 1, and then come back to Paschimottanasana. Keep the legs active and let the trunk go. And now slowly come up. Bend the legs for Baddha Konasana. You can take the supports off to the side. We're going to use the props, but in a different way now. Now bend the knees. Michelle is showing. She's going into Baddha Konasana. Have your hands on the chair if it's still there. Otherwise, have your hands behind you. If your chair is there, put your hands on the chair and lift your chest. So we're not going forward anymore. We're done with forward extensions, but you can press the hands down and lift the chest if the chair is in front of you. If there's no chair there, put your hands behind you and lift your chest. Lift your waist up, lift your sternum up, roll your shoulders away from your ears. If the knees are coming up towards the armpits, you do need to sit up. Don't let the knees be up near the armpits. You sit up higher and the knees will come lower. Very good. Taking the time to adjust yourself, good. If you don't take time to adjust yourself in a yoga practice, when will you? Yeah, have your hands behind you or have a chair close. Some of you are reaching forward to the chair, which is bringing you into a forward bend. I want you to have a moment of being upright, neither in a forward bend nor in a back bend. Spread the inner knees apart as you press the hips down. Press the feet down, hips down, and lift the chest. Okay, very good. So now straighten your legs. We're going to do Supta Baddha Konasana. I want to show you a few things about this pose. I'm sure all of you have done it. It's sort of the premium recuperative pose. I want to show you a couple of things. First of all, let's just review the setup. You need a bolster and a blanket for the head. You also need blankets for each leg. This is the part that I want to make sure you catch. When you fold the blankets, you can dual fold or tri-fold them, have them long and thin. And then they point away from the bolster like an arrow. So get that set up. Your situation will be literally like an arrow. Yeah? Set that up and then come and look. A couple of things I want to show you. Once you've got that set up, you'll need a strap or two. You definitely want tidy blankets. And if you don't have enough blankets, the one on top of your mat, that's the one to get rid of. You definitely need blankets for your thighs and a blanket for your head. Okay, so let me just show you a few things now. If you have one strap, that's fine. You make it into a big loop, bring it over you like a hula hoop. And it's at the base of the sacrum, not at the waistband. It comes at the base of the sacrum. Notice just watch for a moment. Notice that I'm sitting on the bolster. and I bring the strap out in front, and then I put it over the foot, and I make it tight. Now this is going to support your structural body. It'll support your spine, okay? It'll support from the sacrum upwards. But better if you have two straps, because that'll support your organic body. So for menstruation, that's really important. For any kind of prolapse, and for the nervous system, it's nice to use two straps. So one strap goes over the thigh. The part I want you to catch is that it comes towards the buttock region, and then you make it tight. Notice I'm still on the bolster. I'm going through this demonstration thoroughly because I want you to have maximum comfort when you're in the pose, which means getting all these points of what to do. And then I scoop myself off and I place the blankets before I lie back. Don't be too close to the bolster. Have a little space between the buttocks, yeah? And then I'll lie back. And then I'll instruct you through it. I want you to see that I adjust the buttocks away from the low back, and I bring the blanket for the whole head and neck. Now there's lots of arm positions. I want you to catch them here. So I know you want to get into the pose, but just catch the arm positions. The first arm position is with the arms overhead, palms facing the ceiling. This will create organic length, which is really important if there's any adhesions and scar tissue. If you've had surgery, if there's fibroids, some of you have had different surgeries in the heart region and the chest region. So this can help to break up scar tissue. This is the first arm position. Then the second arm position is out to the sides to get width in the chest, to help create space for the heart, space for the lungs, widthwise. Then the third position is with the arms overhead, but this time hands on the elbows, and this is where we get into recuperative, and you'll be able to rest here. Then the fourth position is with the hands interlocked on the abdomen, and for most people, this is absolutely the most recuperative. For some people, they want the hands down. That's fine, that's fifth position. But generally, we stop either here, hands on the abdomen, or here, hands on the blanket. Now, the nice thing about having two straps is that it's really easy to come out of the pose. You just use the hands to join the legs, slip these puppies off, and then you roll over. Okay, so I'm going to highlight Michelle, and I'll walk you all through it.
Can you describe how you get when you're using two straps, where it goes on the foot?
Yeah, it doesn't go on the foot at all. Good question. So what you do is you bring the knee up towards the ceiling, foot on the floor, and you just throw it over your thigh. Get it a little bit around the buttock and at the base of the ankle, and then make it tight. So from the front, what this looks like is you bring the leg up, throw it over like a hula hoop, have the buckle not on the skin if possible, and it looks like this. So it's bringing the thigh and the shin close. All right? Sit on your bolster if possible. That's really going to go the best. When you're ready to come into the pose, I hope you've got a little support, whether it's pillows or blankets for your thighs. Then slide forward off the bolster. Give yourself a few inches of space between the buttocks and the bolster. Then lie back. You want the heels to be snug towards the buttocks, but not so that the knees bother. Also, You want the blankets under the thigh and shin. However, if it's pushing your legs up, move the pillow, move the blankets away so that the legs can come down. You don't want to feel that it's pushing the legs up. Instead, you want to feel that the legs are resting on the blankets. Adjust the buttocks away from the low back with your hands. Use your hands to adjust the blankets on the head and the neck. So it's under the head and the neck, not the shoulders. And then you can use your hands also to adjust the head. Take your glasses off and then reach your arms overhead. So that's the starting place. Separate your hands, turn your palms to face the ceiling, and elongate. Open your armpits, lengthening the sides of the waist. Keep moving the buttocks away from the waist and reaching your arms away from the waist. Pubic plate to the navel, and feel, it should feel really long. It should feel very good to stretch the lower pelvis, stretch the abdomen, and stretch the chest. It's not particularly recuperative, but it gives a great opening of the frontal body. So I'm just waiting here for everybody to get in. Stretch those arms overhead. And then once you've stretched the arms overhead, and if you're still working on that, that's fine, take your time. If you're ready, bring your arms out to the side now. Tighten your elbows and stretch the fingernails. The arms might be off the floor or the fingernails may be on the floor, but stretch horizontally out to the side so that the collarbones are spreading, the front of the chest is spreading. It opens the thymus there in the chest, and you might even also feel some width in the throat and in the face. Not to mention, or to mention, also the legs, spreading the thighs apart. You get width in your pelvis, width in your chest, with the arms stretched like this. Feel the extension, the expansion. Then bring your arms overhead again. Place your fingertips onto your elbow tips. Now the breath moves different. It's different than having your arms stretched. You can pull on the elbow tips to elongate the sides of the waist. Make sure that the buttocks are moving away from the bolster. Pubic plate to navel, buttocks away from the bolster, abdomen long, abdomen soft. And now for the final position of the hands, you can choose, do you want your hands on your abdomen or do you want your hands near your hips on the floor? So for the first part of the practice, we were opening and spreading the back body, breathing, especially on the exhalation, into the back body. Now it's the front body that's draping over the back body. Observe the width. that this pose is giving you by moving the knees apart, creating space in the pelvis. Across the navel band, there's width. Across the waistband, there's width. Across the frontal ribs, there's width from the midline out to the sides. Left chest to the left, right chest to the right. Across the collarbones, there's width. And even in the throat, there's width. Descend your attention inwards, relaxing your eyes, your forehead, to the region of the heart. Observe that width. And now prepare yourself mentally to come out of the pose. When you're ready, place your hands under your thighs and join your legs. Supta Virasana will be the next pose. Some of you, the knees won't bend that way, and so you'll cross your legs in the pose you're in right now. You'll cross your legs and support the knees. Support the thighs. Let me show you, for those of you who are doing Virasana position, let me show you what to do. For today, even if you don't need it, I want you to use 2 bolsters or have a blanket on top. Okay, it doesn't have to be tri-folded, it could be bifolded, but it could be tri-folded, which will give you even more of a spilling sensation of the front body over to the back body, which can feel nice. So what I'm doing here is I've got a bolster, I've got a bifolded blanket, and then I've got a tri-folded blanket on top. And of course, support for the head. So you're up a little higher. Then other times we might just take 1 bolster. When you're up a little higher, you need more support for the head. Now, just a few things about coming into this pose. Just take a quick look here. If possible, don't sit on anything. Let your buttocks hang in the air. Have distance between the buttocks and the bolster, and then lie back. If you have plate weights or something you want to put on your thighs, that's fine. This same arm position number 1, arm position number 2, arm position number 3, arm position 4, and 5. Okay, and then you use your arms to sit back up. Don't be in a hurry to lie down. You've got to get the legs situated. I'll walk you through that. Okay, so first get your props set up if you haven't already, and then sit. I'll highlight Michelle so that I can walk you through. Sit upright and see how she's rolling her calves. You should roll your calves, knees together if possible, thighs closed. Roll your calves out, put the head on the floor. It's easiest if you do it that way. Have your head on the floor, roll your calves out, and use your fingertips to pinch your shin in, to tuck your shin in. Have your feet wide because they're going to be between to the sides of the bolster, and use your fingertips to roll the shins in and the calves out. Okay? Then you can sit down slowly, but the buttock bones have to go away from the backs of the thighs. So Michelle, start again. Knees heavy, feet, head on the floor. Roll the calf out. And when you lie back, your calf out, shins in. Move the thigh back to the buttock bones back. So you go so slowly to get the buttock bones back. Yeah. Then you're upright and then you lie back. So we're going for extra support today. Stretch your arms overhead once you're lying comfortably. Stretch your arms overhead, palms facing the ceiling. Open your armpits. Very nice. Elbows tight. Some of you are still going back. That's fine. Take your time because the thighs may protest a little bit or a lot bit. Once you've been in arm position number 1 for a little bit, then go for arm position 2. Arms out to the sides. And these are my numbers for today. It's not that these arm positions have numbers. It's not that at all. So palms out to the side, arms out to the side now. Palms facing the ceiling, spreading across the chest, collarbones, sternum. Don't have your hands higher than your shoulders. Have your hands wide with the shoulders. Yeah, there you go. That's it. Spread the collarbones, spread the chest. Then bring your arms overhead and hold on to your elbow tips. If it feels that the small toe is rolling up towards the ceiling, you may need to use your hands to adjust your calves again and your heels. For some of you, those heels have to come a little closer to the thighs, closer to the outer hips. Buttocks heavy, buttocks away from the bolster. And then if you feel ready, you can go for arm position 4 or 5. Stretch the fronts of the thighs to the knees. Make your buttocks heavy towards the floor. The lift of the spine should be in the upper back. Don't overly lift the low back. Focus on the lift of the upper back. Spreading the collarbones. You can close the eyes and look inside. If at any point this bothers the legs and you need to take your legs out straight, that's fine. You can take the legs out straight and then lie back again. And then slowly make your way up to sitting and stretch the legs out in front of you. If you want to repeat this sequence again on your own, you could certainly time the supine poses. 5 minutes, 7 minutes, even 10 minutes is great. but at the beginning, it's just a minute or two. Stretch your legs out in front of you. Okay. We're going to go for Setu-Bandha Sarvangasana, and I need to show you this as well because it's a pose in which a lot of assumptions are made, and then the pose doesn't feel awesome. So let me just show you. You need plenty of room to be able to push the bolster away. So I like to have the trunk bolster away from the wall. For menstruation, we always take height for the feet. If you're not menstruating, you can have the feet a little on the floor. Okay, so take a look. I personally like to strap the feet. Having them a little bit wide will create more space in the pelvis. But notice that the strap is around the outer edges of the feet. Do you want to go ahead and get your props set up like I have to get you started? Then I'll show more in the demonstration. So the props are forming a capital T. The bolster is for the trunk. And then if you have a second bolster, you can have it for the feet or have blankets for the feet. Now I do want you to watch this demonstration because it's often misunderstood how to do the chest. Okay, so watch. So I have to scoot myself close to the edge of the bolster. And when I lie back, my head tips back. You can see the chin is away from the chest. Now I'll hold on to the sides of the mat, and I'm very judicious because I want the skin to move on the upper back towards the buttocks. I'm very judicious about not coming down too much. Yes, I want the chin to the chest, but I don't want to bring my shoulders so far down that I lose the articulation in the armpit chest. I also want you to check out my feet. I'm pressing my feet down. My legs are not straight. My feet aren't placed yet because I'm using my feet to help me keep the chest in the proper position. Okay, now I'm about where I want to be. It doesn't matter if your shoulders are touching the floor. What matters is the bolster is helping to circulate the armpit chest region. Once you've got the chest situated, then you can stretch your legs. And you definitely want the fronts of the thighs to stretch towards the knees. And you can hold on to the sides of the mat and then turn the palms to face the ceiling. Now, if you were doing this practice at home, you would do your headstand and your shoulder stand and then do this pose, okay? So you'd like pause here, do a headstand and shoulder stand, and then come back to this pose, Setu-Bandha Sarvangasana. Okay, so I'll highlight Michelle. And then come watch as she's coming into the pose. She's pressing her feet down and lifting the chest and rolling down one vertebra at a time. The feet are very active. They're not positioned yet. They're active, pressing into the strap so she can bring her head down. At first, the chin is away from the chest, and then she has to go so slow, so slow, so slow, so slow. Not too much. The tops of the shoulders don't have to touch the floor. What's important is where the bolster is in your upper chest, upper back. You can hold on to the sides of the mat, get up onto the tops of the shoulders so the chest is open. Turn the palms to face the ceiling. And when you feel satisfied with the position of the chest, then you stretch your legs out. Very nice. Keep spreading open the collarbones, stretching the legs. The strap isn't on the ankles. The strap is on the outer edges of the feet. It could be on the ankles. It's certainly taught that way, but I have it on the outer edges of the feet to create a container for your organs. When the strap is on the outer feet, the legs serve as a container for the pelvis. Palms facing the ceiling, arms turning, chest open. Stretch the fronts of the thighs to the knees, pubic plate to the navel. And if you have a question, you can always unmute yourself. If your name begins with a P, bring the tops of the shoulders down a little more to get the chest to lift. That's it. You want to feel that the tops of the shoulders are stretching down. You don't want to feel that the shoulders are rolling up. So everybody, whether or not the tops of the shoulders are touching the floor, it doesn't matter, but press the tops of the shoulders towards the floor. Yes, you definitely, if your shirt is too close to the throat, you might have to adjust that. Then lift your sternum. Move your pubic plate to your navel and then stretch your thighs. That's very nice. Stretch the fronts of the thighs to the knees, pressing the knees towards the floor. Balance on the middle of your heel. Press the middle of your heel down. The inner heel almost lifts, the outer heel almost lifts, but the middle of the heel, that presses down so that the fronts of the thighs can move towards the knees and the toes can extend towards the ceiling. Having your legs a little wide creates spaciousness for the spine, sacrum, tailbone, low back, mid back, upper back. Gives you some width. Allow for the spreading here of the front body from the midline out to the side. Let the arms descend down, and then observe your chest. Prepare to come out of this pose. First, mentally prepare. Take a slightly deeper inhalation to bring your attention to the room. And then when you feel ready, you can exhale, bend your knees, put your feet on the floor, place your hands onto your abdomen, and slide down a little more towards the floor, shoulders towards the floor. If possible, scoot so much, if you have room, scoot so much until your bolster is, buttocks are off the bolster. Then you can bring your knees to your chest and roll up. Meaning knees to your chest, roll over onto your side and roll up. Now we're going to do a brief forward extension before Shavasana. So as Michelle is showing, she's just crossing her legs and then going forward onto the bolster. Just briefly. This places you back in your yoga cave, which will make for a nice Shavasana. And then come up and go to the other side. So it's just brief, 10 seconds or so. It relieves any tension in the low back from that. Sajibandha Sarvangasana and Supta Virasana. And then come up. And now we'll lie down for Shavasana. Have a blanket for your head. If you have a bolster, you can have the bolster nearby and put it on your thighs once you're lying down. That will help you to further soften your abdomen. The sequence that we're doing is a really important recuperative sequence that can be used whenever you need some rest. Rest should lead to recuperation, which should lead to rejuvenation. So this sequence, because it involves forward bends and back bends and a bit of twisting, it really is squeezing all the different organs and then creating spaciousness. So it's very beneficial to the organic body to give some rest, recuperation, and then rejuvenation. It also allows the brain to become quiet, the nerves to get some rest. Now go for the final rest. Some of you are lucky to have creatures around who will come and put their weight on their bolster on your thighs. You can rest now in whatever shavasana is appropriate for you. Some of you are doing a low back shavasana. Some are resting with the legs out straight. Having a little extra weight like a bolster or a blanket or an animal on your thighs will help to soften the abdomen. Let loose here, let go completely. Relax yourself, especially in the abdomen, let go completely. I'll be quiet for a few moments to allow you time to relax. So that will be all for today's practice. Mentally prepare yourself to come out of the Shavasana when you're ready. You can slowly place your hands on your abdomen, bend your knees, roll over and use your arm as a pillow. Be there on your side for a few more moments, resting yourself. And then slowly sit up. Thank you so much for practicing today. Hariom. You can use this sequence for your practice anytime things feel stressful. It can be good as a general menstrual sequence as well, especially at the beginning of your practice, at the beginning of your menstrual cycle, if you menstruate, and even if you don't, do this practice. It can be done at the full moon, which is tomorrow, and the new moon. It can be done a couple days in a row to get that feeling of deep peace and quiet, or you might want to practice at the full moon and at the new moon. So you can have it as part of your toolkit for staying calm, quiet, collected in rough seas. Okay, so that's all for now. Thank you all for participating.